Scoop disengaged. my papa. This is Flight Operations Department. Please comply with established docking procedures, Commander. Request approved. Cleared for landing on docking bay 29er. You are clear for automated approach, Commander.
Landing gear deployed.
We would like to extend our visitors. Please ensure you complete docking procedures
Landing successful. Clear to disembark. Welcome, Commander.
Incoming message.
Ship restraints withdrawn. Departure authorized.
Temperature critical. Thermal signature restored. Frameshift drive charging. Frameshift drive charging.
You are clear of the station. Flight control, signing off.
Utopia invites superpowers to Galactic Summit. Singuru Pranav and
3, 2, 1. Engage.
Tal, leader of the Utopia Commune, has proposed hosting a diplomatic conference for the governments of all three superpowers. The intention is to provide a neutral location to discuss key issues such as the renewed Thargoid attacks, the Marlinist refugee crisis, and hostilities between the Empire and the Federation. Details have been sent to the Alliance Assembly, Federal Congress, and Imperial Senate. Pranav Antal has also broadcast his invitation across all media channels. It is not Utopia's tradition to become involved with politics, but recent events are of great concern to us all. Interstellar war, terrorism, alien incursion, and economic collapse are the new four dark horsemen that threaten humanity's future. We therefore offer to host a galactic summit where the Alliance, Empire, and Federation may debate these problems peacefully. My sincere hope is that the heads of state grasp this opportunity to resolve their differences and create solutions that benefit their peoples. Utopia is an independent society with a focus on using highly advanced technology to increase quality of life. Should this galactic summit take place, it would be the first diplomatic meeting of all three superpower governments. Thargoids attack Coalsack and Witchhead nebulas. Pilots Federation alert. Large numbers of Thargoid vessels are swarming through multiple inhabited systems, leading to urgent calls for assistance. In what
Shields online.
appears to be a coordinated strike, Thargoid scouts and interceptors have appeared throughout the Coalsack and Witchhead nebulas. Local security ships have engaged them in combat, but report being overwhelmed. The Alliance has a considerable presence in these regions, with 4 starports recently constructed in the Coalsack Nebula. But the Alliance Defense Force has not been able to mobilize in time to prevent some systems from becoming infested with Thargoids. Admiral Aidan Tanner, Chief Military Liaison for Aegis, made this announcement. This is a resurgence of Thargoid activity on a scale that we have not witnessed for a long time. Unfortunately, drastic reduction in funding and resources mean that Aegis is unable to provide adequate defensive measures. We urgently request support.
Sound Cruiser Alpha Lima Alpha. This station is under Imperial sovereignty. Kindly observe traffic regulations when approaching the facility.
From independent pilots and
You are clear
anti-military
to set down on
squadrons.
landing pad.
Critical. We prevent the Thargoids from dominating these nebulas and wiping out
clear to
many
hand over
thousands of
control.
people. Lakon Spaceways faces financial collapse. Economic instability has caused the value of shares in Lakon Spaceways to drop to unprecedented lows,
Shields offline.
placing the
Cyber running.
company's future in doubt.
Heat signature lost. Please acknowledge if you require assistance.
A hostile takeover bid by Federal Corporation Core Dynamics has raised concerns in the Alliance over the loss of a major defense contractor. The Independent Commission for Market Equality has also reported irregularities in the recent transfer of share ownership, which may lead to criminal investigations. As a result, although Lakon Spaceways continues to manufacture and sell ships, its lack of reserves and a loss of confidence among investors may lead to insolvency and dissolution. Trent Delaney, the newly appointed chairperson of Lakon's board of directors, announced financial mismanagement and a litany of poor business decisions
Warning. Temperature critical.
have led to this situation. Rest assured that once formal negotiations with our new parent company are complete, Lakon's stock will rise to new heights. According to federal business analysts, there are indications of displeasure among Core Dynamics senior
Thermal signature restored.
directors regarding this takeover. An anonymous source from within the corporation told Vox Galactica, The Lakon merger is entirely Jupiter-Rochester's project. Frankly, it's sheer greed. Our income has soared
Warning, landing gear not deployed.
recently with new commissions from the Navy, but Rochester's grabbing hands are always reaching for something. He runs the departments that are loyal to him,
Landing gear deployed.
like they're his personal kingdom. Coalsack Nebula terraforming project stalls. Sirius Atmospherics has delivered an update on its experiments to terraform ammonia worlds in the cold
Shields online.
Nebula, the subsidiary of Sirius Corporation.
Landing complete. Initiating lockdown procedures. The Imperial Flight Operations Bureau wishes you a pleasant and productive visit, Commander.
Is working closely with the Alliance to exploit the nebula's resources and pursue scientific investigation, including terraforming terrestrial planets with ammonia-based atmospheres. Project Director Dr. Maximilian North gave this progress report. Preliminary efforts at ecosphere conversion have delivered promising results, but our new techniques are not as effective as the simulations based on exploration data suggested. We are still a long way from fully transforming these worlds into habitable environments. Independent journalist Flint Firemaker Lafos commented on this via the Rewired network. Does anyone really believe Sirius is there for the terraforming? Of course they can't magically turn ammonia hellholes into paradise planets overnight. I know a cover story when I smell one. I wouldn't be surprised if they're deliberately trying to provoke the Thargoids for some reason. Maybe to capture some specimens. Where there's Xenos, there's credits. The Alliance has corroborated Dr. North's report, but also confirmed an increase in Sirius Corporation personnel and equipment arriving in the Coalsack Nebula. Alliance shelters new Marlinist refugees. 10
Ship released. Please observe safe speeds when traversing the docking bay.
Thousands of Marlinist refugees have claimed sanctuary in Alliance space after emigrating from the Empire to avoid political persecution. In recent weeks, there has been a steady stream of ex-Imperial citizens arriving at Alliance systems, mostly traveling aboard small private vessels or in the holds of cargo ships. The humanitarian aid organization Safeguard Interstellar reported that accommodation and basic necessities are being provided. Alliance Interpol is running stringent security checks for evidence that members of the NMLA terrorist group are present. The initial wave of refugees, which fled to the Federation, are currently preparing to populate a number of independent colonies established by the Sirius Corporation. However,
Scan detected.
these systems cannot yet provide harbor to the continuing exodus of Marlinists from the Empire. Prime Minister Edmund Mahone publicly welcomed the refugees, but there has been some dissent in the Alliance Assembly. Councillor Nakato Kane, who is expected to be Mahone's main rival in next year's election, received widespread support for her views. Naturally, we must provide these poor people with emergency aid, but there are practical limits to our resources. It is not our responsibility to solve the Empire's domestic issues, and we have seen the Federation pay.
Have a splendid journey.
The price for sheltering terrorists. The Alliance cannot
Shift drive charging.
end up as the dumping ground for other superpowers' problems. Investors take control of Lakon Spaceways. A coalition of Lakon Spaceways shareholders has voted to replace several members
4, 3, 2, 1.
of the company's board of directors with new management. At an emergency general meeting, investors put forward a resolution to remove selected directors in accordance with Lakon's Articles of Association. The majority vote was in favor of this resolution. New appointees to the board have all
Fuel scooping. Fuel
stated
scoop
that the rejected
disengaged.
bid by federal shipbuilder Core Dynamics will be reappraised. Jupiter Rochester, the corporation's CEO, has welcomed the opportunity for fresh discussion.
Fridge. Shift drive charging.
Chairperson Naomi Landseer, who is one of the directors being replaced, told Vox Galactica, "It's no coincidence that the board members being voted out are the same ones who are against
4, 3, 2, 1.
threatening our shareholders to make sure this hostile takeover goes through. Lakon Spaceways is currently offering a 30% discount on sales of ASM Scout S, Diamondback Scout S, Keelback S, Type 7 transporters,
System scan complete.
and Type 10 defenders. Core Dynamics has applied a 30% markdown.
French. Shift drive charging.
Sales of the Eagle Mark II and the Vulture, with a 20% discount for Federal assault ships, Federal dropships, and Federal gunships. Terrorism respite of
4, 3,
Marlinists prepare for new homes. As independent colonies are set up for Marlinist refugees, there has been a lull in terrorist strikes from the Neo-Marlinist Liberation Army. In recent months, the paramilitary group launched multiple attacks across the Empire. Starports and administrative
System scan complete. Fuel.
buildings were bombed and dozens of individuals assassinated, including Prince Harold and more distant members of the Duval family. However, the number of incidents has fallen drastically
Fuel scoop disengaged.
following
French. Shift drive charging.
successful operations by the Imperial Internal Security Service. After the Federal Security Service identified NMLA members aboard the Emigrants megaships, these were transferred to us for
4, 3, 2,
interrogation. We obtained information that enabled us to shut down many terrorist cells, although there is evidence that the NMLA's network remains widespread. In related news, hundreds of thousands of Marlinist refugees are preparing to occupy new colony systems established by the Sirius Corporation.
fuel scooping.
Mass transportation will take place early next year, overseen by Safeguard Interstellar. The Empire, Federation and Sirius Gov have all agreed that the settlements will remain fully independent. The refugee population has already begun to determine
Fuel scoop disengaged.
its future
French shift drive charging.
social structure based on the principles of Marlinism. A transitional parliament has been formed by community leaders such as Dr. Jenna Fairfax, Aaron White and Amrita Ross. Democratic elections
4, 3, 2,
for a representative government will take place once the Marlinist colonies are operational. Rackham's Peak Outpost marks galactic zenith. Pilots Federation alert. Multi-billionaire Zachary Rackham's new orbital outpost at the galactic zenith is now operational.
fuel scooping. Fuel scoop
Rackham's Peak is
disengaged.
situated in the HIP 58832 system, one of the highest practical locations above the galactic plane. Its construction was funded by Rackham Capital Investments in conjunction with Universal Cartographics and other scientific research companies. Traders have been welcomed, although the increased distances between stars at the galaxy's fringes mean that vessels with a high jump range are recommended. Rackham's Peak is currently offering high prices for deliveries of beer, liquor, wine, Bast Snake Gin, Centauri Mega Gin, Chateau de Gin, Irene and Pearl Whiskey, Eurasian Goose Beer, Parma Silver Sea Rum, Indie Bourbon, Conga Ale, Lavian Brandy, Lycian Evil Juice, Saxon Wine, Fruitis Cream and Wadiello Coup Froth. Mr. Rackham officiated at the outpost's opening ceremony, which was followed by an extravagant press party for media representatives and attending celebrities. He gave this statement: "The top of the galaxy is now open for business. Rackham's Peak is a free port where everyone is welcome, a place where explorers and entrepreneurs can enjoy drinks while overlooking the entire Milky Way. Aim High Commanders." In related news, Rackham Capital Investments has agreed to pay a repairs bill from Universal Cartographics for the outpost sensor array control systems, which suffered fluid-related damage during the party. Commodities delivered to build Marlinist colonies. Pilots Federation alert. Sirius Corporation has successfully gathered materials to construct new independent settlements for Marlinist emigrants. Both the Empire and the Federation accepted the proposal from Sirius Corporation to establish colonies for the political refugees, who have been the cause of increased tension between the superpowers. CEO Li Yongrui made this announcement. As always, The galactic community's immense contribution has made this achievement possible. The shipments of atmospheric processors, auto-fabricators, structural regulators and water purifiers will be used to construct new outposts and settlements in 8 uninhabited systems. The Omega Merchant Command is now offering rewards at Ellis Gateway in the BD Plus 051146 system for all pilots who delivered commodities. Aaron White, a community leader among the refugees, commented on Vox Galactica. I suppose we should be grateful that these colonies give us a chance of survival. But none of us wanted to set up our own kingdoms, only to remove the kings. And one day, we will. The Marlinist population is expected to be transferred from federal space to the new colonies in early 3307. Engineers boost ship module upgrading. Pilots Federation alert. The effectiveness of engineers upgrading for ship modules will be boosted until the 7th of January 3307. During this time, engineered weapons and modules will receive increased augmentation for the same amount of materials. This will apply to every workshop in Alliance, Imperial, Federal and Independent space. Laurie Jameson, an engineer based in the Shinrata Desra system, provided details to Vox Galactica on how this collaboration came about. After the Euripia incident, some of us contacted Liz Ryder and offered our support. It was horrifying how her expertise had been abused by the NMLA, leaving her unfairly maligned as a terrorist supporter. There were concerns that her situation might reflect badly on engineers in general. We soon established communication links between every workshop and agreed to offer a universal boost to upgrades. Hopefully this will remind pilots how much we value their custom and that we remain a trustworthy resource. Mel Brandon, one of 4 engineers in the Colonia region, commented, "It's about time that we all started talking to each other. Our services are valuable to the whole galaxy. We deserve better protection. Maybe we have to start protecting ourselves." Core Dynamics funds takeover with ship discounts. Pilots Federation alert. Prices for several Core Dynamics vessels have been temporarily reduced as part of an attempt to purchase Lakon Spaceways. The Shipbuilding Corporation has applied a 30% discount to sales of the Eagle Mark II and the Vulture. There is also a 20% discount on sales of Federal assault ships, Federal dropships and Federal gunships, although the Federal Navy rank requirements for each vessel continue to apply. The reduced prices are expected to last until the 30th of December 3306. Core Dynamics recently made a proposal to acquire rival company Lakon Spaceways, which rejected the offer, then applied markdowns to its own ships to increase short-term profits.
Starkruger Alpha Lima Papa. This is flight control. Please note that access to the station is by authorization only. Access granted.
The Alliance
Set down on
Tribune's
landing
business
pad
reporter
13.
Irvin Karim speculated on these developments. CEO Jupiter Rochester remains tight-lipped on the reasons for these discounts, but it seems likely that he is raising funds for a more aggressive bid. Rumors are circulating of Lakon investors being bribed to sell their shares, or coerced into demanding that the board of directors accept ownership by Core Dynamics. Many industry analysts are convinced that a hostile takeover of Lakon Spaceways is underway. If successful, we could see vessels that are commonly associated with the Alliance, such as the Chieftain and Type 10 Defender, manufactured by a federal corporation in the future. Outpost planned for the roof of space. Multi-billionaire Zachary Rackham is constructing a permanent outpost at the farthest system above the galactic plane. The orbital outpost will be located within the HIP 58832 system. This is commonly held to be at the galactic zenith, one of the highest locations that can practically be reached. The project is funded by the corporation Rackham Capital Investments, with the close involvement of Universal Cartographics and several other scientific organizations. The outpost's location will make it ideal for gathering astronomical data on the overall structure of the galactic spiral.
Landing gear deployed.
This historic scientific endeavor was remarked upon by Mr. Rackham from his private villa complex on the Ria Archipelago. Back in my days of plying the trade routes in a second-hand Sidewinder, the idea of standing on the roof of space was an idle
Landing successful. Clear to disembark.
dream. This new generation of pilots and ships will make my vision a reality. No doubt many important scientific observations will be made once the outpost is up and running, but more importantly, there'll be a bar, and the drinks are on me. A spokesperson for Rackham Capital Investments later confirmed that the outpost in the HIP 58832 system would be operational on the 17th of December 3306, but clarified that there was no legal guarantee for beverage reimbursement. Sirius Corporation campaign to establish Marlinist colonies. Pilots Federation alert. Commodities are requested to create new settlements for Marlinist refugees who fled from the Empire to the Federation. Sirius Corporation has offered to resolve the current standoff between superpowers by establishing colonies where the refugees can live independently. Leon Rui, CEO of Sirius Corporation, summarized his proposal. It is clear that the Marlinists cannot return to the Empire and are a destabilizing presence within the Federation. We offer an alternative by constructing permanent habitats for their population. These will be self-governed and may freely trade with the galactic community. Sirius cannot stand by while the risk of interstellar war increases. I sincerely hope this leads to a more stable and profitable period for us all. After intense debate, both Congress and the Senate accepted the proposal, with the proviso that any refugees identified as NMLA members will be returned to the Empire. Dr. Jenna Fairfax, a Marlinist community leader, also offered her approval. We were forced to abandon our entire lives because of our political beliefs. This at least gives us a chance to have homes again. Traders are asked to deliver atmospheric processors, auto-fabricators, structural regulators and water purifiers to Ellis Gateway in the BD.
Ship release. Restrict speed until clear of the station perimeter.
Silent running.
051146 system. From there, the Omega Merchant Command will distribute resources for the colonization of up to 10 uninhabited systems. Colsac Nebula Project gathers Ammonia World's data. Pilots Federation alert. Explorers have catalogued many Ammonia worlds for a Sirius Atmospherics terraforming project in the Colsac Nebula. The subsidiary of Sirius Corporation is one of several companies that are working in partnership with the Alliance to commercially exploit the region. Project Director Dr. Maximilian North announced that
Thermal signature restored.
successful completion of the initiative, the data provided on
Silent running.
planets with ammonia-based atmospheres will be invaluable to our terraforming simulations. With our new environmental techniques, some of these poisonous worlds within the nebula may one day become habitable. Sirius Atmospherics have
Warning. You have entered a restricted area. Leave the station now.
confirmed that payouts for all contributing pilots are now available at Betancourt Base in the Muscadar region PJ-PB61 system. As the expansion
Thermal signature restored.
to the Colsac Nebula progresses, Commodore Mora
Silent running.
Halloran of the Alliance Defense Force commented on the possibility of further attacks from the Thargoids. Anti-Xeno security is not as stringent as we had planned, due to the low availability of ADF vessels and Aegis being impacted by federal and imperial defunding. It may be necessary to call upon the galactic community again, should we
Thermal signature restored.
encounter further interference from the Thargoids.
Incoming mission critical message.
Universal increase to combat bond and anti...
You have left the no-fire zone. Flight control out.
Xeno payouts. Pilots Federation alert. The values of combat bonds
Frameshift drive charging.
and anti-Xeno bonds have been increased as factions focus on bolstering defenses. Financial instability and the current political tensions have led to factions upscaling their rewards for combat bonds, as well as bonds received.
4, 3, 2, 1. Engage.
destroying Thargoid vessels. These increases to anti-Xeno and combat bonds will be in effect across Alliance, Federal, Imperial and Independent space. They can be processed as usual at any starport offering the relevant services. This follows a turbulent period in many marketplaces that has impacted commodity prices, as well as
Fuel scooping.
producing a
Fuel scoop
boost to the value of
disengaged.
bounty vouchers. The changes were remarked upon by Professor Ophelia Kaufman, head of economics at Orion Independent University. As anticipated, the ongoing volatility of financial markets has led to further widespread revaluation.
Shield. Bolts online.
With heightened hostility between the Empire and the Federation, coupled with terrorist attacks and a resurgence in Thargoid activity, it is hardly surprising that every faction now places a greater premium on protecting their citizens. Although some may view the current tranche of changes as inevitable or overdue, there may well be additional revaluing in other fields as a result of competing market forces. The only certainty is a further uncertainty. Marlinist refugee crisis grows critical. Hundreds of thousands of political refugees who fled from the Empire to the Federation have brought both superpowers to the brink of conflict. The Marlinists, who believe in restructuring the Empire into a republic, escaped crackdowns in several Imperial systems during a hunt for neo-Marlinist terrorists. The Federation has provided temporary safe haven for the refugees. However, security concerns proved to be justified when the NMLA bombed a federal starport where captured members were being held. The Federal Security Service provided this update. The Marlinists themselves have informed us of more individuals among them with NMLA connections. The risk of terrorism from this population is now low, although it's impossible to know exactly how many have been radicalized. There have been heated debates in Congress over granting citizenship to the Marlinists. President Hudson insisted that all illegal aliens must be deported and has strengthened the Federal Navy as a defensive measure in light of the Empire's warnings. Conversely, Shadow President Winters argued that turning away starving refugees to face imprisonment and discrimination would be immoral. She also noted that the same principles of democratic representation found in Marlinism are enshrined in the Federal Accord. This disagreement between the Republican and Liberal parties has led to stalemate, with the fate of the Marlinists hanging in the balance. Lacon Spaceways discounts selected ships. Pilots Federation alert. Temporary price reductions have been announced for several Lacon vessels in an effort to increase short-term profits. Lacon Spaceways has applied a 30% discount on sales of the following ship types: Asp Scout, Diamondback Scout, Keelback, Type 7 Transporter, Type 10 Defender. The reduced prices are expected to last until the 30th of December 3306. Some industry analysts believe this is an attempt to increase short-term payouts for Lacon's shareholders, many of whom have complained about falling dividends. Other investors have publicly pressured the company to accept a takeover bid from the federal corporation Core Dynamics. These issues were addressed by Naomi Lancia, chairperson of Lacon's board of directors. It is true that profit margins are not as impressive as in previous years, but we can assure all stakeholders and customers that Lacon Spaceways remains financially secure. We project an upswing in military contracts during this turbulent time, and our achievements on behalf of the Alliance position us as one of the galaxy's premier shipbuilders. Utopia invites superpowers to Galactic Summit. Simguru Pranav Antal, leader of the Utopia Commune, has proposed hosting a diplomatic conference for the governments of all three superpowers. The intention is to provide a neutral location to discuss key issues such as the renewed Thargoid attacks, the Marlinist refugee crisis, and hostilities between the Empire and the Federation. Details have been sent to the Alliance Assembly, Federal Congress, and Imperial Senate. Pranav Antal has also broadcast his invitation across all media channels. It is not Utopia's tradition to become involved with politics, but recent events are of great concern to us all. Interstellar war, terrorism, alien incursion and economic collapse are the new four dark horsemen that threaten humanity's future. We therefore offer to host a galactic summit where the Alliance, Empire, and Federation may debate these problems peacefully. My sincere hope is that the heads of state grasp this opportunity to resolve their differences and
message.
Touchdown sequence complete. Power down your engines. Welcome to the station, Commander.
Good morning.